Hello, friends. Joe Lynch here from the Logistics of Logistics, and I'm talking to my friend Nick Klingensmith. Nick, please introduce yourself and your company and where you're calling from today.
Good afternoon, Joe. My name is Nick Klingensmith. I am with Stride Motivation, and I'm out of Clearwater, Florida.
Awesome. So what do you do at Stride Motivation?
So I'm a four-time cancer survivor, type 1 diabetic, and recovering alcoholic who became an obstacle course racer and defied it all. Now I'm a motivational speaker, a mental endurance, and a sales performance coach.
Awesome. And we should also mention you are a logistics guy. You were at one of the Blue Bloods. So tell us a little bit about your logistics career.
You know, like a lot of people, I stumbled into logistics. I'm a career sales person, and I found a job selling for a small DHL reseller that also sold freight back in the day. It was a really easy transition for me and sort of a value in a consultative sell. Plus, I'm a door knocker, so it was a good time. That company later became known as Blue Grace Logistics, where
nice.
I spent 14 years helping to build to the size that they were at the time. I left there in 2019, and then I spent a couple years consulting. My niche really was in building, leading, and training sales teams and developing individuals. So, you know, it's kind of like I start something up and then I have to go do something else.
well, I've had you on my podcast, and I've always enjoyed that. And now I'll say this. I'll put a link to that episode in the comments. What I've always impressed me is you said you were diabetic and you had cancer, survived it 4 times, and you were an alcoholic. Some a little self-inflicted on some of this, but we all have issues, and you basically overcame all this through endurance racing. And now you're kind of sharing that story. How many races have you done?
I have completed 109 Spartan races. Those are all obstacle course races. I've actually DNF'd 4 of them. We'll talk about that another time. Did not finish. They were all ultras. 3 of them in Killington, Vermont, and 1 of them in Dallas, Texas. 2 of them I got hurt and just couldn't continue, and then 2 of them I didn't make the time cut off. I've also done 6 major marathons, including Boston, Chicago, New York, Berlin, and then about 100 other sufferfest endurance races and obstacle course stuff.
So I love your story of overcoming. And so I know you're speaking at the Broker Carrier Summit. That's what we're promoting today. So the Broker Carrier Summit is in Indianapolis. It's April 28th through May 2nd. It's basically the whole week. I think there's some golf. There's a whole lot of activities. I interviewed Dan Lindsay not so long ago, and I know you're going to be speaking at Broker Carrier Summit. So talk first about the Broker Carrier Summit and then what you're going to be talking about when you're there.
You know, here's the ultimate irony for me about the Broker Carrier Summit, okay? The conference, the entire summit, the entire purpose of it is about relationships. And the entire reason that I am speaking there was because of relationships. My name was getting introduced.
I mentioned it to
Dan. You know, the Broker Carrier Summit in October was the most successful conference I've never been to. And so I was really excited to come to this one because in the 15 months that I have technically been out of the industry now, I have built more relationships. I've learned more about the industry. I've learned the broader thing beyond the brokerage walls. And I think that's what the summit is about. Like I said before, it's cheers. It's where everyone knows your name. It's where the cooks and the wait staff get to have a drink after work. And, you know, where brokers and carriers and dispatchers and everybody included in the process just realizes that we're all doing the same thing together.
Yep. And I noticed if you go and look at who's going to be there, beyond the brokers and beyond the carriers, there's a ton of tech companies there. Highway is going to be there. Green Screens. I'm just naming just a few. There's dozens of those companies are going to be there because they recognize the importance of it. And I just spoke to Dan Lindsay, so I can blather on a little bit about it. But the reason he started the summit was because he thought there was just a bad relationship between brokers and carriers. And there is somewhat a built-in friction there. And you've lived it. You're from this space. And it's a lot harder to have that friction and that othering where you go, oh, those guys, when you're sitting down in a room with them, maybe having a drink, maybe having some food. But when you're actually meeting, it's very different. You're not going to be able to put them in a box and say, yeah, Nick is very different from me. Nope. I met with Nick. We had lunch and he's a good guy and I'd like to work with him. And that's another thing that comes from this. a lot of business is done there. And people meet the carriers they want to work with, and the carriers meet the brokers they want to work with.
Yeah, there's something to be said about humanizing. I want to say your competition, but that's not the case. But humanizing other people, it allows us to focus on people and not problems. And you definitely get out of the habit of writing 140 character tirades when you can actually just pick up the phone and talk to someone.
Nick, I was meeting with some buddies from high school, and I invited one friend, and then he saw the list of he goes, "Hey, who invited so and so?" And I was like, "I don't know. He went to high school with us." And he goes, "Yeah, well," and then he mentioned something political, and I go, "Dude, you've known him since he was 6 years old. You graduated from high school with him. Do you think you could talk about what you guys did on the basketball team a million years ago?" But anyway, the next day he sent me a text. He goes, "Dude, you're right." He goes, "He's just the guy I always knew. Uh, we didn't talk about politics. Surprise, surprise. When you meet people in person, that's considered rude." Right.
You know, so I equate it to the obstacle course racing world because I say this all the time. The humanity that I see out there on the course, it's just about helping other people. Period. It's not about where they're from, what they do, who they voted for. None of those things matter out there, and it's such a free, positive environment. And so that's what I'm looking forward to at the BCS.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm going to be there. I have not been to the Broker Carrier Summit. The nature of our conferences is sometimes they back up back to back, and you go, God, I can't. For smaller companies like yours and mine, you're like, I don't have the ability to be going all the time. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one. And so, what is be some of the? I know you're going to give a speech there. You're one of the speakers. What's going to be some of your messaging at the Broker Carrier Summit?
Ultimately, John, I want to drive a transformation, a mindset shift from survival mode to thriving with purpose. I want to get out of the mindset where everyone is fighting for scraps and get into a mindset of abundance. It's about building mental toughness and taking ownership instead of blame, breaking free of the mental limitations, actually providing a framework to decisively overcome obstacles. But I just talked about this, and I'm going to lean into this heavy because resilience thrives when there is a deep sense of purpose. And being part of a team is a very powerful why. And I really just want to lean into the importance of this community and how working together can achieve just incredible things.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And I think we have a mutual friend, Matt Castriotti, and I said this to Matt a while back. I go, I'm from automotive, and automotive's a big business. And I said, and then I came to logistics, and I said, sometimes it's easy to get into a scarcity mindset. Matt is all abundance all the time. He's always talking about, dude, we're going to make a lot of money. Blue skies, blue skies. That's where his head is at. And if you're in the brokerage business, or if you're in the carrier business, this has been a little bit of a rough ride. And I think there's a tendency to kind of get stuck in, well, this is what we do, and it's low margin, and there's a lot of turmoil. Somebody in this industry is doing really well. It might as well be you.
When I started posting motivational content, positive content, just not necessarily sales or logistics related content, it was because I was tired of seeing all the negative content. It was impacting me, my health, my activity. It was like really having me doubt, why am I even getting up and going to work? This is like nuclear winter. My God, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? No, it's not. That exists in that social media area. And of course, there's no I'm saying things have been great. There's been a challenge for a lot of people, but it won't change until my mindset change. Things don't change unless your perspective changes. It doesn't happen the other way. You have to lead with your mind. And so that's what I decided to do is just find the positivity and just reach for that positivity and don't give up until I do.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Dan and the guys at the Broker Carrier Summit are doing. Is they're really looking and saying, hey, let's break the old paradigms. We don't have to hate each other. Brokers and carriers have to get along. You can't be successful if it's one's winning and one's losing. And
yeah, this is not poker. This is not a zero sum game.
Right. And so I love, another thing I love about Broker Carrier Summit is the ownership. It seems like there's a million people who say, oh, I'm part of that. I have a stake in that. And that's so important. This is very much a grassroots effort. And I love that it's in Indianapolis. It's a 3-hour drive from Chicago, about 5 hours from me. It's a long drive from Florida. Sorry, Nick, you have to fly.
Yeah, but I booked my flight the moment that I connected with Trey, and he was like, "All right, we got this. You're locked down." I was like, "Yep, okay, Southwest done." Um, Now, I want to make sure I get this out there for anyone listening because I don't know when, but it's going to happen. Trey, Michael Lombard, myself, we are going to be leading and highly encouraging twisting arms for people to join us in some sort of a group fitness activity, one or two of these mornings. It might be a walk, it might be a ruck, it might be a run, there might be some functional fitness stuff, but I certainly expect to see you down there, and I want everybody to
All
join us.
right. Excellent. Well, I will definitely see you there, Nick. So again, it's the Broker Carrier Summit, April 28th through the May 2nd. I will put a link in the show notes so people can reach out and get to that conference. Again, this is a great one. People rave about this conference. So be there or be square. All the cool kids are going to be there. Anyway, thank you so much, Nick, for taking the time.
Thanks, Joe, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Yep. And for the rest of you, see you in Indianapolis. And until next time, onward and upward. You have been listening to the Logistics of Logistics podcast, where we engage with leaders in the logistics and supply chain community. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a nice review on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you listen. Also, please check out our videos on YouTube and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're very big on LinkedIn. And you can also reach us on the logisticsoflogistics.com, our website.